um, so that's a fun video that kind of gives you an idea of some of the playful qualities. One of the things, though, that's interesting, and that I'm going to talk about, Ryan talked about this too, is about how do we show 3D data? How do we, if you'll see in that video even, they're kind of playing on a minority report screen, right, when she's working, right? But what we're really going to have eventually is a data at 3 different levels, right? And the reality is, in terms of a gap, we just don't exactly know how to do that yet. We don't even really have a clue how to do that yet. The 2 games that are usually built for virtual reality. Now, the way that those games usually work is that you create this item and you create this item in this rendered space, and then they interact with each other. But how do we build on top of a real space? And how do we set up a relationship between some item and a real space that we have to somehow recreate, and maybe some other item? And it seems kind of clunky, and it doesn't really seem like the right fit. So we may need a whole other engine, or at least some significant modifications in order for us to create an AR. And here's the minority report. So for now, all the AR kind of demos that we see, we're dropping these Windows screens or these 2D screens into a 3D space, because that's what we're used to. But the reality is that it could be a much easier, much more rich, textured, informational way to, is if we can somehow figure out how to do it in 3D. So we can, like Ryan said, we can take something and grab it and maybe squeeze it, right? And maybe like all kinds of information falls out because we've squeezed something. Or we can throw it and then we get some other kinds of information. There's so many different ways that we can explore having, demonstrating, transmitting information in 3D that we haven't even begun to do. So I was going to give my application predictions, but Ryan already went through and gave them all, and I think he said mostly what I, okay, the only one he didn't talk about was storytelling. Actually, 2 ones, storytelling and NGO, so I'll talk about those. And I'm also going to talk about mind control. I'm going to talk about mind control, storytelling, and NGO. So storytelling, so I think that our AR storytelling is going to be about theater times 1,000, right? You're going to be in a real space, but there's going to be all, like I said, all of that magical stuff happening, or character stuff happening, and there's already some theater that's going on now with AR. So it's going to be a very different way of telling stories in a theatrical kind of method. And then with NGOs, I feel I have this fantasy that we can have 2 city parties. We can have a city in Syria, and we can have a city here in the States, and everybody's got their AR glasses on, so everybody can kind of interact with each other, and so you get this you get this instantaneous connection between 2 different cultures, 2 different villages. You can meet people's kids, you can meet people's families. It's a way to bring the whole world together. And then I'm going to talk about mind control. Because I built a mind control demo with VR. But now you can get sort of these headbands that help you get into a meditative state. And they measure your meditation. And they can measure whether you're alpha or beta or whatever. And you can do a mass meditative experience where everybody's got their muse on and you're meditating at the same level. And imagine if you're doing that and you're also seeing through your augmented reality lens some kind of visual of all of you together meditating. So there's a lot of opportunity here, and I guess this is more about the communication and the community coming together. But I love the whole idea of us actually melding our minds together, like doing a Spock thing.
Thank you.